All right, in this explainer, we're jumping into a really powerful philosophical argument about the status of women. It's a journey, for sure, one that looks back at a long history of injustice and then lays out a path to fulfillment that, well, it really challenges a lot of modern ideas about what equality means.
So where does this whole thing start? Well, it kicks off with this really stark, kind of shocking observation. The central idea is that for centuries, women weren't really seen as people, but as things, as commodities, valued in the same way you'd value goods in a marketplace.
To really get what's being said here, we have to go back in time. We need to start with the historical problem that this whole philosophy is trying to address, a long, long history of objectification and inequality. And look, the argument here is that this isn't just some ancient history problem. It points to actual markets in the past where women were literally sold off like any other product. And then it draws a direct line from that to today's world, to modern advertising, where a woman's image is used to create attraction and sell pretty much everything, treating her as just another tool for commerce.
So a really powerful example that's brought up to kind of hammer this point home is the ancient story of Sita. The story goes that after she was freed from captivity, she was actually forced to go through a trial by fire, an Agni Pariksha, to prove her purity to everyone.
And that leads to this incredible question, right? It just cuts right to the heart of a massive double standard. The burden of proof, this intense test of purity, was put entirely on the woman. It tells you everything you need to know about a society where men just weren't held to that same standard. Not even close. And the point being made is that this isn't just some old story we tell. The idea is that this burning of women, it's still happening, even if the reasons have changed. It connects Sita's trial by fire to the modern tragedies where women are still harmed, whether it's over dowry or just as victims of a man's anger. Okay, so if that's the history, what's the solution? How do we respond to all this? And that question, well, it takes us right to the heart of what the word equality even means in the first place.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because the whole concept of equality gets split in two. On one side, you have equality of rights, the absolute right to dignity, to respect, to spiritual growth. The speaker says, yes, absolutely, this is essential. But then you've got this other idea, equality as sameness. The idea that women should imitate men, their jobs, their behaviors, how they think. And this, according to the discourse, is a huge, fundamental mistake.
So if trying to be the same is the wrong goal, what's the right one? Well, the idea put forward is something completely different, complementarity. It's the idea that men and women have these distinct qualities that actually complete each other. They aren't meant to be identical copies, but to come together to create a harmonious whole.
All right, so let's dig into that idea. How do you find harmony not by being the same, but by actually embracing what makes you different?
The first analogy we're given, it's from art. Think about it. A painting isn't beautiful because it's just one flat color, right? No way. Its beauty comes from how different, contrasting colors play off each other. Black and white, red and green. They're totally different, but together, they create a masterpiece.
And you see the exact same thing in music. A beautiful melody isn't just one note held forever. It's born from the harmony of opposing tones. The source here describes the sharp, strong tone as masculine, and the soft, gentle tone is feminine. It's when you combine them that you get beautiful music. And even nature gives us this perfect example. A delicate flower, it can't really protect itself, so it relies on the hardness of the thorn to keep it safe. The idea here is that softness is protected by hardness, just as a woman's honor is protected by a man's firmness, not to control her but to safeguard her. Okay, so that's the ideal. But what happens when that natural balance, that harmony, gets all thrown off? What's the real cost when we start chasing sameness instead?
And this next idea? Wow. It's probably the most powerful warning in this whole philosophy. The point is that when you try to imitate something else, you don't actually become that thing. What happens is you lose what made you special in the first place. A jasmine loses its own amazing scent because it was too busy trying to smell like a rose.
So from there, a pretty stark chain of events is laid out. It starts when a woman, trying to imitate a man, leaves her traditional role. Step 1. Then, the home loses its heart. It stops being a home and becomes just a pile of bricks. Step 2. Because of that, the children grow up without that maternal affection and tenderness. And finally, the argument is that this leads to a weaker new generation, one full of ego and hatred, which ultimately hurts the future of all of society. Okay, so we've seen the history, the problem, and what's presented as the wrong path. So where do we go from here? Well, now we turn to the solution, a spiritual path to perfection.
And this is absolutely crucial. The goal isn't imitation.
It's integration. For a man to become whole, to become perfect, he has to integrate what are called feminine virtues, devotion, tenderness, mercy. And for a woman to become whole, she has to integrate masculine virtues, like knowledge and bravery. It's about each person becoming a complete human by embracing the best qualities of the other.
And when that happens, when that mutual respect and integration is there, something really transformative happens to how they see each other. It's not about flaws anymore. It's not about differences. It's about looking at the other person and seeing a divine spark.
And what's the result of that? Well, the home itself changes. Life becomes harmonious. It's no longer just a pile of bricks. It gets elevated into a sacred space, a temple, filled with peace and respect.
But here's the thing. The opposite is also true. The discourse presents this as a stark choice. If you choose to see the divine in each other, he sees a goddess, she sees a god, and the home is a temple. But if you choose to focus on flaws, he sees a witch, she sees a ghost, and the home becomes a living hell. The path you go down is all about perspective.
And that leaves us with this one last huge idea to think about. If true perfection means integrating the best qualities of the other, then those hard lines we draw between man and woman start to get a little blurry, don't they? And that doesn't lead to sameness. It leads to a much deeper, more profound kind of unity.